I never understood this when I heard Napoleon Hill write about it 50, 75 years ago. You develop a prosperity consciousness. At a certain point, the tide turns and the money begins to flow to you like a river. And what would have taken you 10 or 20 years to earn, you earn in a month or 2 months. And you can't even believe this until it happens. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? By the way, it's the most remarkable thing. And so this is our goal. But in order, in the Bible, and Jim quotes the Bible, remember it's the parable of the talents, which is very interesting. It said, "O good and faithful servant, you have been faithful over small things, I will make you master over many." And the only way that you can become a millionaire is by first becoming a 100-aire, and then a 500-aire, and then a 1,000-aire, and then a 2,000-aire, and so on. People say, well, I want to jump from here to great financial success. That has never happened and will never happen. The era of the dot-com was an aberration in human history. It wiped out $5 trillion worth of wealth and probably destroyed more lives financially than any other plague in history. That's never going to happen again. The way that we make money is we work hard and save our money. So number one rule, as you've heard 1,000 times, is pay yourself first. Pay yourself first, which means to save 10 to 20% of your income. I was talking with David Bach on the phone the other day. Does anybody know who David Bach is? David Bach is a really nice young guy. He's a financial planner who's got a book, and it's the #1 book this week on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. It's called The Automatic Millionaire. And people are buying this book by the thousands. He has 2 other books, Nice Women Finish Rich, Nice Men Finish Rich. And he's got 3 books in the top 10 in the financial bestsellers. Do you know what the books say? Pay yourself first. And people are paying and buying the book and going, wow, what an incredible concept. And he talks to people who come in, working people. The guy's a truck driver, she's a waitress, and they come in to plan their finances. He feels a little sorry for them because they got kind of crummy clothes and they got kind of working class jobs, and together they never made more than $50,000 in their lives, and they're 45 or 50, and then he shows them, this is what the Automatic Millionaire starts with, then they show him their financial plan. They're worth $2.3 million. And they never made more than $50,000 a year. They own homes and cars and businesses and everything else. Why? It's because they just saved their money and invested it carefully. So we say, in order to qualify for big things, you've got to do little things. If you want to be in the championships, you've got to fight you've got to compete in the smaller competitions. So number one, pay yourself first 10 to 20%. Now here is the great challenge, is most people can't do this. Most people say, geez, 10 or 20%. So what I say is this, is start with 1%. Start with 1% of your income. Is there anybody here who could not save 1% of their income? If somebody put a gun to your head, say, if you don't save 1% of your income, it'll blow your brains out. Can anybody here not work it out? Say yes. Okay, we can all do it. So therefore, you save 1%. If you make $5,000 a month, that means you save $50 a month. You open up a separate bank account, and just as religiously as if you're going to be shot if you don't do it, you put $50 a month in that bank account, 1 crummy percent. Now, simultaneously, whenever you get any extra money or something you didn't expect, a bonus, an IRS refund, or something else, just put it into that account. This becomes your financial accumulation account. When you become comfortable saving 1% a month, then you move it to 2% a month. And then you move it to 3% a month. And you do this until you become comfortable. And it's very much like changing the direction of a great ocean liner. As this ocean liner begins to change and change direction, it's very, very subtle, 1 degree at a time. But what you're doing is you're bringing about a fundamental subconscious change from spending everything you make to not spending everything you make. The rule for financial success has been the same for 5,000 years. Spend less than you earn. 5 words. Spend less than you earn. This has been the rule. If you can do this, you can achieve financial independence. If you can't, you can't. So, the question is not whether it's possible, but only how. It's only how. Okay, how do we do it? So, what we do is we save 1%, and we put it into an account. Now, this is not an account, by the way, for fun, an RV, a vacation, or something else. Open other accounts for that. Jim will talk about that, as do other people. Just save 1%. And then 2%, and then 3% until you develop the saving habit. And pretty soon, within a year or two, you'll have it up to 10 to 20%. Now, I never understood this, but what happens is that when you save money carefully like this, this money begins to develop an energy. It begins to become a force field. It begins to develop an energy of attraction. And there's a law in the universe called the law of accumulation that says the more you accumulate, the more you accumulate. And the more you have here, the more money you attract into your life. And what happens is you get little bits of money from here and a bonus from there and unexpected money from there, and you save something from here. Instead of blowing it, which we normally do, you put it into this account, and each penny, dollar you put into the account increases the energy. It's almost like this is uranium, and it's increasing the energy power, and it starts to draw more money. It becomes like a force field of energy. Does anybody know about this? It's the most phenomenal darn thing. Many years ago, we were broke. We had to sell our house because I started a business and made every single conceivable mistake. We had to sell. I learned to sell again. We sold our house, sold our furniture, sold our dishes, sold everything, moved to a rented house. And when we sold the house, there was $10,000 left over from carrying costs. And my wife said, I want to put that in a separate account so we're never out of money again. And I argued with her. I said, yes, but we've got all these things. There's always something to spend it on. And she was adamant. You know what I told you about negotiating? She was adamant about this. She took the money, she put it into a separate account, which I didn't even know where it was. And they put that $10,000 away. I couldn't touch it, and she wouldn't touch it. From that day onward, we were never out of money again. It's almost as if we just changed the dynamics of the universe. Now, we worked hard, we went up and down. From that day on, we were never out of money again. Because that money just sat there, and it attracts money, opportunities, ideas. This is such a powerful principle. It's why people become wealthy. So your job is to pay yourself first. And start off by saving 1% per year. Now, here is the second principle, and it's called the wedge strategy for achieving wealth. Is that in life, this is what happens. You've heard the old Parkinson's law that expenses rise to meet income. In other words, no matter how much you make, you spend that amount. Well, so this is what will happen over the course of your lifetime. If you keep engaging in additional knowledge and skill, you'll learn more, you'll earn more, you'll be paid more, you'll increase the slope on your curve, you'll move ahead faster, but if you're not careful, you'll burn it all. Most wealthy people are 2 months away from homelessness. If their income was cut off, doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers, if these people's income was cut off for any period of time, within 2 months they would be foreclosed on, because they're spending everything they have and a little bit more besides. So this is your income. So this is your income, and this is time. Now what happens is the natural tendency is for our expenses, this is our income, and these are our expenses. Our expenses just go like this. No matter what happens, we just can't get ahead, because we keep raising our expenditures, like jacking them up, and we never get a gap. So here's the goal. If I were to ask you to save from your income today, most people have a hard time doing it because every penny you have is committed. So what I'm going to ask you to do from this moment on is to save future income. So if I were to give you $1, if I was to say, Karen, here's $1, if I give you $1, would you save 50 cents of it? Now, if I give you $1 that you don't have, it's not too hard to commit to saving half of what you don't have, right? Are you with me so far? So this is what you're going to do, and you're going to make a deal from now on, is you're going to save 50% of your increase. So you figure out what your income is today, and as you use the techniques here, you're going to become more skilled at making money. So from now on, save 50% of the increase and allow your standard of living to go up by 50%. Is that a pretty good trade-off? Say yes. In other words, you're not going to suffer, you're not going to die, you're not going to be hungry. Your living standard will go up. You will be able to enjoy more things, but save half of all your increase for the rest of your life. My promise to you is if you start early enough and you save half of your increase, you'll become wealthy. Because this amount of money will compound. And as Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. If you start to put $1, $2, $3, start to invest it carefully and let it grow and compound, in time, they say $1 invested at 3% interest at the time of Christ would be worth all the money in the world today, because it would have grown so much with compound interest over 2,000 years. So your job is to practice the wedge strategy. From now on, you sit down and you say, all right, exactly how much are we earning today? Whatever it is, from now on, whatever we earn above that, fully 50% will be saved. So this is the starting point of getting out of debt and getting your finances under control. But it's the foundation. If you can't do this, you can't do anything. If you can't save a nickel, you can't make $1 million. Are you with me so far? Say yes. Zig says that if you will be hard on yourself, life will be easy on you. But if you insist upon being easy on yourself, life is going to be very hard on you. And the starting point is with the next dollar. One critical point, and this is interesting psychologically. Oh, boy, this is good stuff. Is that when you are a young person and you're told to save your money, you develop, remember I told you about the goblins, the financial goblins we have, the gremlins in our minds. When you're told to save your money, that means that you're not buying candy. If you have an allowance, allowance means candy. It means toys, it means fun, it means ice cream. And so, you should save part of your income. You should save 10% or 50 cents or whatever it happens to be. But that, you associate saving money with pain. That means you can't get candy. Now, you're just a kid. You're not working this out philosophically. You're just saying save money means don't buy candy. Now, when you're an adult, what has happened is this is programmed deep in your subconscious mind, and when you think of saving money, the first thought you think of is sacrifice, pain, hurts, no candy. And what you have to do is you have to go back into your subconscious mind and rewire it like an electrician and hook up the wires differently so that saving money makes me happy. Because what we have found is that all people who are wealthy enjoy caring for their money. Now, here's another thing, is money goes where it's loved and appreciated. If you love your money, the money will come to you more. How do you tell that you love your money? Because you tend it carefully. You take good care of it. I don't know whether it was Jim or Dennis or somebody else said, but you could pretty much tell a person's financial status by looking at the way they carry their money. People whose financial life is a mess, their money, their purse is full of coins and $1 bills and fives, and they go scooping through it like looking for a diamond ring in a pile of dog poop, to look for money. But if you look at other people, and I learned this, it's a very simple thing, is fold your money, keep it folded, you should know it, have all the heads facing one direction, have all the denominations so they're in a proper order. Just take a couple of minutes to organize your money. And what that does, it exerts a reverse influence on your subconscious mind with regard to money. And does anybody know what I'm talking about? If the things that we do physically have an emotional impact on us, if we get all of our financial life organized and keep our money organized and our coins organized, by the very act of that, we treat our money better and we attract more money into our life. Money goes where it's loved and appreciated. It doesn't go where it's treated in a haphazard or indifferent fashion. And from now on, think, I love to save money. Just say it, I love to save money. I love to have money in the bank. And in time, you will look at your bank account and your investment account, and it'll make you happy. And you will no longer have this urge to blow the money. Most people, when they get a bonus, they say, oh, I got a bonus, I got to blow it. Let's go and spend it somewhere, all right? Now, the second thing you do is if you're working for someone else, or someone else is signing your paycheck now, remember this, there's 2 or 3 keys to getting ahead fast. Your job is to be in the top 10% in your field. Remember, whoever is in the top 10% in their field today started where? In the bottom 10%. And whatever anybody else has done, you can do as well, because nobody is smarter than you and nobody is better than you. So here's 3 or 4 keys to getting paid more and promoted faster. Number 1 is focus on contribution. Focus on contribution. Most people are so focused on what they get, they don't realize. Focus on contribution, focus on results. Always ask yourself, how can I make a greater contribution? And these are the words, how can I add value to my company? Now, there's several ways you can add value, and number 2 is to upgrade your skills continually. You'll find that Dennis and I and Jim all talk about this importance of continuous learning. Upgrade your skills. I have studied and written courses on time management for years. I'm an expert on the subject. I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty knowledgeable. Do you know I found one of the best time management tools in the world is get better at what you do. When I learned that many years ago, I almost fell off my chair. Getting better at what you do, which increases the slope on your curve and the speed at which you make more money and the amount of money you make, will save you 5 and 10 years. We're not talking about cutting a couple of minutes or hours off the day. We're talking about years of hard work off your life just by getting better at the most important things you do. And remember, if anybody else can be in the top 10% in anything, you can be as well. Quick story. This gentleman came up to me at my seminar. I said, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about today is not rocket science. He came up and he said, I heard that comment about rocket science. He said, I'm in sales. I'm 28 years old. He said, and I'd heard many people say over the years, this is not rocket science, this is not rocket science. I began wondering, what would it take to get a degree in rocket science? And when I was a kid, I loved rockets. I used to practice with rockets, and I got toy rockets, and I got rocket posters, and I used to watch the takeoffs at Cape Canaveral, and then my parents got me rocket books. I mean, that was my thing. And when I got into high school, you know, I discovered girls and forgot about rockets, and then went into college and then got into sales. I said, I wonder what it would take to get a degree in rocket science. So I went back to the college, and I said, you know, I'm really interested in rocket science. What would it take? They said, well, you'd have to take these prerequisite courses, you'd have to take this, you'd have to do that, you'd have to take summer courses and so on, but this is the prescribed courses that you'd have to take to get a degree, just like we talked about a little bit earlier in engineering. So he decided that's going to be his project. So he went back to work. He's in sales, just like you and I. He's an entrepreneur. He went back to work in evenings and weekends. Instead of playing golf or watching television, he just studied rocket science. He said, May, I graduated at the university with a degree in rocket science. He said, now when somebody says, you know, this is not rocket science, he said, I know, I got a degree in rocket science. he said, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Now, here's my point. Anybody in this room, if you wanted to get a degree in rocket science, if you cared about it enough, you could do it. You are smart enough to accomplish virtually anything that you could even imagine you could do in life. Nobody's smarter than you. Nobody's better than you. If they're ahead of you on the road of life, it means two things. Is they got on the road first, and they have proven that you can do the same thing they've done. If somebody is doing well, it's proof that you can do it as well. Now, people say, well, I want to be a billionaire in a year. That is a dumb thing. Why don't you be a 100-aire in a year? Why don't you be a 1,000-aire in a year? Say, well, I want to be a billionaire in a year. I want to be a millionaire in a year. How long does it take to master your field? Well, whether it's selling or neurosurgery or diesel mechanics, or whether it's rocket science or whether it's optometry or haircutting, how long does it take? It takes 7 years. It takes 10,000 hours in 7 years to master your craft. 10,000 hours in 7 years. Now, one of the greatest diseases that has afflicted America, like an epidemic that has swept the country psychologically, is quick fix. I want quick fix. I want to take my entire wasted life and turn it around by Monday. I want to be financially independent in a year, and I want to be free from decades of silly things that I've done with my life, and I want to get it all back. And that's not how it works. What you do is you begin turning this great ocean liner slowly. It takes 7 years. Now, I've studied mastery, and I've studied it for years. I've studied all these subjects because they're so important to me. All the studies say 10,000 hours in your craft, 7 years. Now, people say, oh, my God, 7 years. I'm 30. I'll be 37 years old. Jeez. Well, how much older will you be in 7 years in any case? The fact is, and please write this on your hand, the fact is the time is going to pass anyway. The time is going to pass anyway. The only question is where are you going to be in 7 years? Are you going to still be lost on the back roads? Are you worried about money? Or are you going to be on the high road and moving ahead faster and faster? Peter Drucker, who's probably the best management theorist in the history of the world, Peter Drucker says no business makes money within 4 years. In the first 4 years. It takes 2 years to break even. The first 2 years, what you do is you mortgage, you hypothecate, you borrow, beg, steal, and lie every penny you possibly can to survive. The second 2 years, you make more than it costs, and you begin to pay off your debts. At the end of 4 years, you start to make a profit. It takes 7 years to make a business success. Now, if that is the rule, people say, I'm going to beat the numbers. No, you're not. You're not going to beat the odds. People say, I'm going to live to be 150. No, you're not. You're not going to beat the odds. You're not going to beat the probabilities. What you do is you say, okay, these are the facts of life, so get on with it. If you want to be at the top of your field, there's nothing can stop you from being one of the highest paid, most successful people in your field if you just get on with it. And don't expect to do it overnight. Is just begin to take the courses, upgrade your skills, add value. And here's the final key, and this is the key to leadership, is ask for responsibility. Ask for more responsibility. It's interesting, there are some people who are completely incapable of working for another company who become entrepreneurs. But these people often are not successful entrepreneurs because they're just simply disorganized. Look at Jeff Bezos, very successful entrepreneur. Worked for other large companies within structures for years. What Drucker found is that 90% of people who become successful when they start their own business have worked for more than 5 years within an organizational structure. So they understand that a business has a series of inputs and outputs. There's organization, and there's finance and planning and administration and sales and marketing and cost accounting and so on. And they understand the dynamics of a business. It's like surgery. There's certain things that need to be done in a certain way for the patient to survive. In business, there's certain things that you need to learn and get systematic over and over again before you succeed. So asking for more responsibility is the thing that moves you to the front of the line. Because the person who's always raising their hand say, I'll do that. And I used to work for this gentleman, and I told him, when I started off, I was a junior employee in his large company. And whenever I was on top of my work, which was very fast because I'd start earlier and work hard and stay late, I'd say, I like more responsibility. I want more responsibility. Just give me more responsibility. And eventually he'd say, well, try this. And I'd take it like a dog going after a stick. More responsibility. And here's the key. When they give you more responsibility, do it fast. When you get a chance, do it fast. When you get your break, do it fast. When the line opens up and you can run for yards, go through that line. It's when you get the responsibility, the chance, the opportunity, move fast. All successful people move fast. They're like falcons falling. They move fast. They don't say, well, I'll get to it next week, week after next. I remember once he gave me an assignment, and he gave me the assignment on Tuesday. He said, in the next couple of weeks, I'd like you to look at this. It was to look at a piece of land that they were buying in Reno. The next day, I got on a plane and flew to Reno. I arrived there Wednesday night. On Thursday, I went out to look at the land and speak to the lawyers in charge of it, and I get this terrible feeling something was wrong. And what I found, I won't go into the story, but I tell you, in one solid day of moving around, I found that my company had been cheated, that they'd been sold a piece of bare land that had no water, could never be developed for $2 million. It was a worthless piece of rock. In fact, half the business people in Reno knew that somebody from out of town had been sold this piece of property and were wondering if they'd pull it off. They'd been trying to unload this property to an unsuspecting investor for years. They had tried to cheat this person, and at the last minute, I went to the lawyer and I demanded a $250,000 check from their trust fund. And he said, thank God you found out. He said, working for the other party, he said, I couldn't say anything. Thank God you found out. He wrote the check for me at 5 minutes to 5. The deal was supposed to close at 5 o'clock. I took the check home and I picked it back to my boss and I told him what happened. He said, He said, so you went the day after I asked you to go, not the following week, which I suggested. Yes. From then on, he just started to deal me responsibilities. I made him $50 million in the next 3 years. He gave me housing developers and buildings and offices and shopping centers and unbelievable stuff. And so my point was that the one action of just moving fast on one thing suddenly bumped me ahead of everybody else that I'd started with in that company. And from then on, I was the go-to guy. You be the go-to person in your company. There's nothing that will move you to the top of your business faster than to ask for more responsibility and fulfill it quickly. Be known as the person, if you want something done fast, give it to him, give it to her. That causes your star to rise. It will cause other people to try to hire you away. They'll pay you more to keep you. They'll give you bonuses. I ended up later learning, because when I started my own business, I hired an accountant from his company who had been in charge of the finances on my deals. She said he paid you more than he ever paid anybody in his business career in bonuses for the amount of money that you made him. And by the way, you didn't have too many friends in that company. All the others who knew about it were real angry. Okay. Starting your own business, I'll just give you 2 more points. Starting your own business, what is Michael Jordan's wonderful recommendation for success in American life? Just do it. All self-made millionaires own their own businesses. So how do you start your own business? Well, America is one of the most wonderful countries in the world. All you have to do is you sit right where you are and you say, I am now the president of my own business, and you now are. If you name it after yourself, what is your name, Adam? Pardon?
Rita.
Rita, and what's your last name?
You can't pronounce it. Virolaide.
Virolaide?
Yes.
Okay, Rita Virolaide and Associates, Rita Virolaide, president. You have your own business cards made up. From now on, you're the president of your own company. Now, there's a wonderful American philosophical principle, which is this. If you build it, they will come. If you create a vacuum in the universe, nature will fill the vacuum. If you set up your own company, and what you do is you set up a sole proprietorship or an S corporation. Why? It's because 100% of the money that you invest in a sole proprietorship or an S corporation is deductible from your taxable income. If you set up a C corporation, only your profits are deductible, and there won't be profits for a while. So you set up an S corporation, and you can do it on the internet. There's all kinds of inexpensive ways to do it. Set up a company, name it after yourself if you like. Call it Dale Wernette and Associates or Karen Wernette and Associates, and put yourself as the president. Now you have a company. You now have what is called a shelf company. And I promise you this, within 3 to 6 months, something will happen that will enable you to activate your company. A business opportunity will appear that goes into your company. It's the most amazing things will start to happen. Your whole mind will shift when you have your own company. Have your own business cards made up that say president. When you're out with somebody else, they say, Dale, well, let me give you I'll give you a call later on this week. Yeah, call me on my private line. Dale Wernette, president. Geez, I've never known you to be president of anything. Yeah, the president of my own professional services corporation. Really, what sort of things do you do? Well, Dale, do you have a bank account? Do you have any insurance? Do you have a home? Do you have a car? Go to restaurants, stay in hotels, use a computer? Well, we're in banking, insurance, real estate, hotels, restaurants, airlines, computers, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If I told you more than that, I'd have to kill you. Remember, every part of your financial life is part of your financial life. Set up your own company. From now on, you're the president of your own company. You know, I work with Fortune 500 companies when I do some of my seminars. Who do you think I talk to finalize my seminars? I talk to the presidents. I talk to presidents of multi-billion-dollar corporations. I have lunch with the presidents. Why? Because I'm the president. Presidents have lunch with presidents, not with the lower-level staff. For heaven's sake. My point is this. When you start to call yourself the president, what happens to your own self-esteem and your own self-concept? You start to see yourself as a totally different person. You start to see yourself as the kind of person who is the president. Now, does it happen overnight? Don't expect things to happen overnight. You start to see yourself and think about yourself. You're responsible. You're in charge of your own life. You have your own business. You're president of your own personal services corporation. Then you start looking for opportunities, and you always start on a small scale. People say, well, I don't have any money. Shut up. Nobody has any money. Most businesses in America are built on what is called bootstrapping. They put enough money in to get started, they buy something and they sell it at a profit, and they reinvest their profits. All the great businesses are bootstrapped. It's only after 5 or 8 or 10 years of success from bootstrapping that people will actually go out and start borrowing money. Hewlett-Packard, you know, is a $30 billion company, 92,000 employees. They have a rule at Hewlett-Packard, it's called pay-as-you-go. They don't carry debt. If they cannot pay it out of current profits, then they don't buy it. They don't invest in it. They're not an indebted company. They sell shares and everything else. But your life and my life has to be the same thing, pay as you go. And if you have that philosophy, people say, well, I can't borrow money from the bank. No bank would lend you money anyway. It'd be insane. Because why? It's because banks are in the business of making safe loans. Banks like to have 400% collateralization for any loan. It means they want you to have $4 for every dollar they give you, plus they want your firstborn son and one of your arms put into a vice in other words, banks are not in the business of making speculative loans, but if you demonstrate that you can be responsible with money, that you can invest it, that you can make it work, and that you can make it grow, they start to line up to give you money. They throw you money, like Ditech. You know, like those Ditech commercials, they all want to lend you money. They all want to lend you money when you demonstrate your financial responsibility. So the first rule in starting your own business is just to do it. Before the next week is out, if you don't have your own business, start your own business. Name it after yourself. You can always change the name later. Put your home address on it if you need to. Now the last point, and then we have to go, has to do with real estate. Now, people say you can buy real estate with no money down. Well, I know enough of this about real estate. If you're going to get into real estate, take one of the great seminars that's being offered on real estate investing. They are really good seminars, by the way. Has anybody been to one of these real estate seminars? Are they good seminars? They're very good seminars. Don't try to figure it out for yourself. What they'll do is they'll show you how to start very small, where you invest what is called sweat equity. The time to go out and look at homes, to compare them. The rule in buying real estate with no money down, my friend Dolph DeRoos, who's got the best-selling book, Real Estate Riches, is called 100. Does anybody know this? 100, 10, 3, 1. Has anybody heard that? You have to look at 100 homes before you find 10 where they will not charge you, they will not ask for cash, they'll take it back. And of the 10, you make offers on 3, and of the 3, you get 1. And so therefore, for every 100 houses you look at, which is going to take you a lot of time, you get 1 house. I know a guy in Phoenix, by the way, and he has only one way of buying homes. He goes and says, I'll pay you cash for your house if you sell it to me for half price. He gets a lot of dogs sicked on him. He gets chased off. He gets sworn at. They turn the hoses on him. He buys about 1 house a month. He has only one strategy. He goes and asks, lowball, I'll give you half price for your home. Now, he sometimes gets them for 60% and 70% because he finds what is called a motivated seller. A person just wants to get out of the house and move. And so once a month he buys a house. He now owns 29 houses. He's got a net worth of over $2 million. He has a monthly income of $22,000. He's as dumb as ditch water. I'll tell you what, I mean, he couldn't carry a conversation to the post box, and yet he's worth all this money. Anyway, let me wrap up with two points. This is the very best time in all of human history to be alive, and that you are the very best people in all of human history to be alive in the very best country at the very best time. America has now hit the takeoff point where it's going to hockey stick. More millionaires are going to be created in the next few years than have ever been created in history. Most of the great millions, we have no idea where they'll come from. And your job is to be one of them. And you'll be one of them if you decide to. Because the world America now has something like 5 million millionaires. There's hundreds of thousands of millions of people who started with nothing, who became financially independent. If they can do it, you can do it. Because they're not as smart as you. Nobody's smarter than you. Nobody's better than you, right? Your job is to make a decision, set it down as a goal, develop a plan, and work on the plan every day. You set some very specific financial goals. Begin saving your money $1 a time. Begin saving your money 1% a month. Begin building up financial assets so that you have assets to take advantage of opportunities. And my promise to you is you'll set up a force field in the universe that will start to attract into your life everything that you need. If you learn everything you can learn from this seminar and from what you get here, you'll eventually reach the point where, just like I've spoken to several people here, they're already millionaires. They started off with nothing and became millionaires. And they're back here at the well to learn more things to help them to get on that fast track and move ahead faster. The critical quality is optimism. You've got to be an optimist. I have to tell you this quick story about optimism, and then we're on our way. Two little boys, Johnny and Jimmy. Johnny is a complete optimist. He's happy. He's positive. He sings. He plays jokes. He's the most positive.